Welcome to the Story and Critique Show. Whether you're looking for fantasy, romance, sci-fi, thriller, mystery, children's, suspense, or a genre in between, this is a place where we read stories from the community. With over 250 stories read live, this is the place whether you need feedback for your story or whether you just want to kick back, relax, and listen to some other writers in the community. And if you're new here, welcome. I'm Kauffman, daily writing streamer, fantasy author, almost, soon to be fantasy author, and dragon enthusiast. And I'm on a mission to help you with the writing process. So it's time to write now. Okay, so we're going to be hopping into it. So let's start off with the beginning. How do we submit? Very simple. If you want to submit your story for feedback, the link is down in the YouTube description down below. Fill out the form, answer a couple questions, like your pen name, and submit and upload your story excerpt. We accept all styles of stories, all genres, and all formats. Novels, novellas tend to be the most popular, but we've got in screenplays, poetry, fan fiction, and everything else in between. So highly, highly, highly recommend submit now. Your story gets queued up for this critique stream, or if we don't get to it, the next critique stream. This is a bi-weekly stream every other weekend. All right, and then how do I critique? So for those of you who are not familiar with my process, I like to break down the critique into 5 areas. I like to look for character development, world building, dialogue, plot, and style. By breaking up our critique process, the critique loop, into 5 areas, we're able to better give feedback in a way that's going to help the writer or help the author as much as possible. By clarifying, okay, I think this and this does well, but this and this could be improved, this can help the writer in deciding what needs to be fixed or what needs to be improved next. This feedback is very similar to what you would receive in an alpha or a beta reading. Sometimes I'll go a little bit into developmental and line editing, but I really try to focus my critiques on alpha and beta reading. All right, and then for the highlighting, if I'm highlighting, that's more for my benefit, so I can remember what I want to chat about, so no fear. I do not read any of the stories beforehand. I skim just to make sure that, I skim just to see what type of content, but I don't read in depth any of the stories to keep it exciting for you and myself. And most importantly, during the conversation, if there is a part of the story that you love, if there's a part of the story that you like, drop a comment. Let us know what stood out. What did you enjoy? What did you appreciate? Or was there something that didn't make sense? Let us know. Drop a comment, because if we are submitting, we're going to assume all feedback is good feedback, as long as it's delivered in a way that is kind and clear. Awesome. So we're going to be queuing up at the top of the deck. All right, so we're starting with War Begins. So this is War Begins by Unknown Messenger. This is a fantasy with a romantic subplot. So let's get into it. Unknown, I got your story queued up on deck. We're going to be hopping straight into it. And let me cue the screen up and we will get started. All right, and I think I got it here. So I was trying to make sure that I can get a... All right, perfect. Maybe. All right, wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. So let's, oh no, that is not, let's go here. And we are adjusting the screen. All right, perfect. All right, and here we go. All right, so Unknown, we got you first up on deck, my friend. We are going to be starting off with a little bit of fantasy. We're going to start off with some fantasy. We got, I think today we got a mix of fantasy, romance, and a couple of things in between. All right. So without further ado, let's get into it. And let me queue up on my end. Okay. So I want to make sure. Okay. I am all ready. So without further ado, War Begins, a fantasy with a romantic subplot by author Unknown Messenger. And this is a novel. This is the first draft. And let's see, feedback. All feedback is welcome. So, any general feedback. And let's see just what we can do to help out Unknown here. War Begins. Chapter 1 Kaiser. The night air is cool as the partners fly through the air. The sound of the dragon's wings flapping along with the wind is the only sound heard. The clouds grow in the moonlight. Kaiser's eyes roamed over the sky, taking in the sights around him. A gleam of awe in his gaze is a rare sight to behold. It's been so long since we had a chance just to fly at night, alone like this, Kaiser said as he moved to lie down on the dragon's back. A soft rumble from Magnaris's throat met the human's ears as he turned his head to look at the other. It is my dear, lovely Rye, Magnaris replied softly with a hint of love. Kaiser looks around, a hint of a smile on his lips. Enjoying the view of the stars and clouds around him, he reaches out his hand to try to touch the sky, almost as if wanting to become one with it. Oh, to be a star with the freedom to do anything. A cold breeze washes over them. A shiver ran through the young man's body. He curls up in on himself in an attempt to keep warm. His blonde locks cascade over his eyes. You know, you 30-foot lizard-shaped grandma? You ain't that bad sometimes. Kaiser yawned softly. Oh, while sitting up, still curled on himself for warmth. A grunt just answers his words, while the dragon turns slightly to the left. Along the light from the moon to hit his scales makes them look almost black. However, his actual scales are a deep, dark purple. The young man's head turns in the same direction, taking in the sight that's now in front of him. He tilts his head to the side as he brushes the hair out of the way of his vision. Smoke billows into the air from a burning village. Fear enters Kaiser's eyes as he takes in the sight. Magnaris quickly lands a few feet away while the young man dismounts. He rushes into the fire, looking around at anyone he can help. No, no, no. Why? This wasn't supposed to end like this. This wasn't supposed to happen. I thought they were working on a deal. Kaiser screams as he stops in the middle of the town. He shakes his head as he slumps to the ground, tears welling up in his eyes. The sound of the breeze and fire fills the air. No other sound can be heard, not even a peep from a mouse. I guess they never wanted peace, Magnaris said quietly while padding over to his partner. The dragon leans down and nudges the crying man with his snout, wanting to cheer up the only being he cares for. Kaiser turns to look over at his partner, reaching out his hand to rest on the other's cheek, gently pulling him closer closer to himself in a way. My father said the war wouldn't happen. He lied to me. The blonde whispers, not wanting to believe the horrible truth. Magnaris rumbled softly as he moved over Kaiser to protect him from the growing fire. The young man sobbed softly as he hides his face in his partner's leg, seeking comfort from the horrible truth he just learned. Your father may be a high-ranking general, but he is not a god who can prevent all wars from taking place. Magnarius cooed as he leaned between his legs to nuzzle the human side. Kaiser sniffed softly as he turns to glance at the dragon, a sweet yet discouraged smile on his plump, pink lips. He reaches out his hand to gently pat the other's cheek. Magnarius was about to speak when a roar came from above. He glares up into the sky, hoping it's not an enemy he has to fight. His tongue sticks out of his mouth, licking his lips, spreading his venomous saliva on them. A threatening growl emanates from deep in his throat. Whoa, whoa, it's just us. No need to get so defensive. A familiar voice rings in the air with the sound of a dragon landing nearby. Kaiser shifts slightly to look at the pair, a curious gleam in his puffy red eyes while he speaks. Eleutheria? The man nods his head as he takes a few steps forward. He reaches out his hand for Kaiser to take. Magnarius growled as he leaned down a bit and snapped at the hand, signaling for Eleutheria to keep away, and he takes the hint and backs away. Eleutheria turns to look at the burning village with a saddened look in his gaze. Mag, it's fine. He's a friend, remember? Kaiser murmured as he reached out his hand to pat his partner's neck, a sign to calm down a bit. Magnus grumbled softly but pulled back. Instead, his attention goes back to his partner. The young man sniffles while turning to the fire. It wasn't supposed to happen like this. The war was supposed to never happen. Instead, I was supposed to marry the opposing general. To prevent this from happening, create an alliance. Movement catches his attention from the corner of his eyes, as well as shouting. He turns to look at it and sees Eleutheria pointing and yelling at incoming dragon riders, then pointing around telling them what to do, easily slipping into the head knight roll. He does so well. The young man's head falls as a sob escapes his lips. His hands clenched against the ground, digging his fingers into the dirt, getting under his nails. Tears roll down his cheeks, falling onto the ground. Magnarius lets out a small whine, while leaning down to nuzzle against his partner again, seeking to comfort the one he loves. I can't. I just can't. I should have tried harder. Harder to get the marriage pushed. It's my fault. All mine. Do not blame yourself, my lovely Rye. None of this was caused by you, but old bastards who do not know what to do. Another scream fills the air, but this time it's one of a young child. Kaiser's head shoots up, eyes scanning the area, landing on a young girl, who's crying next to her mother's burning corpse. He assumed, trapped under a tree or a pole. He got up quickly from the tear-stained ground, right under the dragon. Before rushing towards the girl, he took her into his arms, holding her close to his chest, just as the moment when a piece of a house collapses right onto them. Blood. Blood is all he can smell, mixed with the smoke of burning things. The sound of shouts surrounds him, woven in with the scraping of the claws and roars. Then a whimper from right under him. Was that me? No, it was that girl. Kaiser opens his eyes hastily, meeting a pair of tear-filled ones. Panic fills him when the adrenaline coursing through him suddenly stops, making him realize the pain he is in. But he quickly hides it for the girl's sake. You okay, little one? The young man's words come out hoarse and weak. The child nods her head while sniffing. She reaches out a hand to rub against Kaiser's cheek, causing him to hiss a bit. You're hurt, sir. He shakes his head, forcing a smile to form on his soft lips. His gaze softened as he checked over her the best he could from his position. A sigh of relief escapes his lips when he finds no visible injuries. I'll be fine. But what about you? The young girl nods her head. A frown forms on her lips. Then a look fills her eyes. Almost hateful, like she wants this to happen. A painful sting, almost like fire burning his skin, radiates from his stomach. As the girl pushes the man off her, she gets up from the ground. The metallic smell of blood fills his nose once more, finally realizing he's been stabbed by the girl, the one he thought was in trouble, but in reality she wasn't. Instead, she was sent to kill him. The whole town burning was a ploy to bring him here to die. The other side never wanted peace, but the war they promised. They didn't want either. They wanted everything. Blackness slowly fills Kaiser's vision, yet he fights it back the best he can. Breath becomes shallow and weak. His eyes fall onto the girl, who's currently sneaking away from the area. He grits his teeth as he tries to get off the ground, but fails and hits the ground and onto his wound. Fuck! I should have seen this coming! His vision slowly fades to black. Unconsciousness finally wins the fight. Soft sheets rub against Kaiser's skin, waking him up. His eyes opened as he sat up. He looks around, not spotting anything or anyone. This isn't my room, or any place that I recognize. The younger man maneuvered to the edge of the bed. A hiss escapes his lips as he tries to move off the bed. He brings a hand to the injured side, gently grazing over the wound. His gaze falls to the bandage, then he spots blood staining it. How long have I been out for? Kaiser forces himself to stand up, placing his hand on the bedpost near him, to keep himself from falling to the floor. The cool air of the room swirls around the younger man. His gaze flicks open. Simple yet elegant furniture fills the space. A hint of vanilla and roses fills the air. Hiding the smell of dust and blood, a picture of an older man standing next to a beautiful light green dragon. Is that the previous king? Kaiser whispers to himself as he reaches out his free hand. A curious gleam in his gaze before he suddenly stops when he realizes what he's doing. He shakes his head as he takes a weak step back, before remembering Magnarius, his beautiful partner. Maggie, can you hear me? I reach out to find my bond with the dragon, hoping to find anything connected, but something seems to be blocking it. Panic fills the young man as he takes more steps back, until his legs hit the bed. One of his shaky hands moves to his shoulder length hair, running his fingers through it to try and calm himself down. Why can't I reach him? Maybe it's because of magic. A voice then speaks up from the doorway. You're correct about that. Kaiser shoots his head to look at the man, taking a small step back despite the bed behind him, who's leaning against the doorframe, arms crossed, with a smirk on his lips. His green gaze, a sign of royalty, wanders over him. Wow. Well, Unknown, I definitely have to say, you definitely knew how to win me over because you definitely put a dragon on it. So I thought that was actually a really cool opening to a story. I was like, the light was getting in my eyes. Like, I had to keep adjusting here. But I thought that was a really cool beginning to a story. I like this bond and this connection that our main character and let's see, that our main character Kaiser and Magnarius have. I feel like they were definitely a fun duo. Um, let's see. When I look at the plotting, landing I think the strongest thing that's working for this is actually the plot. I think the plot is very, very strong for this. Um, yeah, because I like the flow and the overall pace of this setup. I like that you establish the bond with them. They go into this village. Everything's basically burned and been killed. It creates this moment where we want to feel bad for our hero and the way that he feels. And then, of course, he tries to go save a little girl who then stabs him in the back. Like, dang, little like evil assassin chick. I was like, oh yeah, I guess I should have seen that one coming. I did not see evil assassin chick. I'll admit that was a good little early twist. I'm like, of course, little assassin. You think it's about to be this like heartwarming moment, and he's about to like go on this like journey and have the little girl help him, and she's just a little assassin and stabs him in the back or the gut, one of the two. So I would say the plot was definitely really strong. I think there's definitely some really great character development moments. I'm trying to think of what. Let's see. So let's get into it. And Eli, I actually agree with that. I like the whole political marriage thing and the guilt over that. There's some really cool world building elements. I actually think there are some really cool world building elements. I think I would say strongest for this one is plot, followed by Hmm. I would say plot and then world building and character development are kind of a toss up. I think there was definitely some opportunities for dialogue and style. I try not to focus too much on style early on because this is a first draft, but I think there's some good opportunities for readability. Okay. So let's get into it. So as we think about this, let's look at this first paragraph. The night air is cool as the partners fly through the air. The sound of the dragon's wings flapping along with the wind is the only sound heard. The clouds grow in the moon. The clouds glow in the moonlight. Kaiser's eyes roamed over the sky, taking in the sights around him. A gleam of awe in his gaze is a rare sight to behold. So we got Kaiser. Kaiser and his dragon. So I think this the opening for it is fine. Like it works. It's basically Kaiser and his dragon flying through the sky. Um I think the only thing is it's nothing nothing crazy different. I'm asking myself like what pulls me in the first paragraph, and I would say like right now it's neutral for me. I like the scene and the setup. I'm just asking what pulls me in immediately. But what I actually really liked, and actually as a side note, I love Magnaris's name. I feel like that's kind of like a unique name, especially for a dragon. So I was definitely all down for that. So I was definitely all down for that one. I thought that was definitely a cool one. Awesome. So definitely very, very cool. I loved that. And let's see, what else? So when we go down here, I actually love this. I thought this was a great thematic moment. Oh, to be a star with the freedom to do anything. There's something about that that's a little magical. I almost wanted this moment to be in the very beginning. Like because I could tell like this touches on the theme. Oh, to be a star with the freedom to do anything. I think I would almost start off with that line because there's something kind of powerful about that line, especially as they're traveling through the sky. I think this line would be a much stronger opener. But that's just subjective on my part. 30-foot lizard shaped grandma. You know, you 30-foot lizard shaped grandma. You ain't that bad sometimes. I don't know. I don't think we need 30 foot there. I think you're trying to paint us a picture through the dialogue. I think this dialogue would work better if you just have him call, "Oh, you lizard shaped grandma. You ain't that bad sometimes." I think that would make this dialogue, this one, hit a little harder. But I think that's a really funny line. That builds up rapport between them very immediately. Yeah, so I mean it's interesting. Right now they're just flying through they're just flying. So with this initial open, I'm asking myself what is their motivation? We know they're flying somewhere, but I'm not sure what they're trying to where they're going, what they're trying to accomplish. Are they just like flying just to fly? Are they scouting? Are they flying to the village? Um, I don't think you have to say what they are doing. Um, but it might be powerful to help us understand what our main character's motivation is. What does our main character want? Does he just want to get away from the problems of the world? Does he want to be best friends with his dragon? Does he want to save the people of the lands? And like you don't have to say the motivation outright, but I think you could suggest at it early on because that'll help us further care about about our main character. I started getting pulled more into the story in the second bit because we're getting action. And I'm like, all right, this is good. So what's interesting is there's a couple times where you use, so this is more a style observation, but there's a couple times where you do interiority. And I think there's some of the interiority you do very, very well, but there's other times where you do interiority and it feels a little repetitive because the dialogue is basically saying the same thing. So when we read this, you're like, no, no, no. Why? This wasn't supposed to end like this. And then he says, this wasn't supposed to happen. Those two are a little bit kind of saying the same thing. I would either cut the interiority at this moment because I don't know if this is what necessary, or I would adjust the dialogue. I would get rid of one or the other in this specific moment. Granted, this is also doing some plotting as well, right? So they were working on a deal. Okay, so clearly a deal gone wrong, and now everyone in the village is dead. Sucks to be in that village. Oh, okay. Let's see. So you said the crying man with his snout. I wasn't sure if this was me. I could have. I, for some reason I thought that you referred to Kaiser as a boy earlier on. in the narrative, but that could have just been me. No, okay, you said the young man. Crying nudges the crying man with a snout. If you're going to refer to him as a young man, keep referring to him as a young man. Don't switch, because then I was like, oh, is the dragon nudging somebody else? Use the same. If he's a young man the entire time for consistency. That threw me out for a second. Gently pulling him closer. And then like moments like this, I'm like, why say like the blonde? Is it because you're wanting him to show that he has blonde hair? I think you could do this a little smoothly, like saying he likes me. Tiger said, looking up to his partner as his blonde hair swished over his face or something like that. Not wanting to believe the horrible truth. I think you could just make that adjustment a little slower because you don't want the reader to be like, oh wait, who's the blonde? Because I don't think you referred to him by the blonde before. Um, yeah. Yeah, so I would say overall the plotting is good. Magnus Code. They're basically kind of going back and forth. He's trying to console him. I couldn't decide how I felt about the name Eleftheria, but that might just be me. I love the name Magnarius, but I couldn't decide if I like the name Eleftheria. And I think with our setup, I would say like you could probably maybe give us a little bit of like a small description on what does Eleftheria look like. And then so with this interiority here, so it's this one's a little challenging. It feels a little on the nose. Normally, so like people would generally think this. I think this is authentic, but when a reader's reading this, they might feel like you're trying to tell them it through interiority. It wasn't supposed to happen like this. The war was supposed to never happen. Instead, I was supposed to marry the opposing general. I think this interiority would actually be stronger as dialogue. I do feel that this interiority would be stronger as dialogue if he's like getting mad and like at his dragon or at Eleftheria. So yeah, I think that would make a little more sense. And then we get the so with this last bit, I kind of lost the action. So there's dragon riders coming at them. And then so Eleftheria points to Eleftheria go attack the dragon riders. I can't. I just can't. Do not blame yourself, my lovely Ray. And then we have our MC goes to help the little girl, which I like the little girl little twist, which is good. Um, I think maybe set up that Eleftheria is like preparing to fight as our young man, our MC, kind of turns to go help the girl. So we can kind of play. And then during this like little girl stabbing moment, where'd his dragon go? But I think that's kind of plotting as well. So maybe just leave off an Eleftheria and his dragon and Magnarius kind of getting ready to fight these dragon riders. This is good. This is a good moment. So he grabs her basically as the house is about to fall onto them. Good. The young girl nods her head. A frown forms on her lips, then a look fills her eyes, almost hateful, like she wants this to happen. So with this thing, how can a hateful look like she wants this to happen? Um, so how can a look say that she wants this to happen? That I'm a little uncertain about. I might just reword this part because this is a really cool moment. Um, yeah, so I think I would end on the hateful bit right here, and then a painful sting, almost like fire burning his skin, radiates from his stomach. Yeah, and I think then that's good. The metallic spell. Blood fills his nose once more, finally realizing he's been stabbed by the girl when he thought was in trouble, but in reality she wasn't. Instead, she was sent to kill him. So this is a little like narratory. What I would do is like moments like this, you could actually replace this with like the metallic smell of blood is good. Finally realizing he's been stabbed by the girl. So instead of doing this, you could actually have the girl stand over him. She looks down on him, smiling, her dagger dripping with blood as she blows him a kiss and runs away. So I think this is a really because this is a powerful moment. I would say let the action speak for itself because this is such a good moment. This whole town burning was a ploy to bring him here to die. How does the MC know this? Um, so I think something like this, it almost feels like you could replace this with have the girl say something because I'd be like, you like what? Have the girl end off like, you like what we did to the town? This is a present just for you, and then she runs away. And then the ending is good. And then I don't really have any comments on like the last bit because that's kind of more setup for what's to come, but definitely really interesting. I would say unknown biggest piece of editing advice if I put on my editor hat for a second is a lot of the times for your subject. So when you're referring to different characters, whether that is you're referring to your MC, you're referring to a dragon, you're referring to the girl, a lot of the times you like to use different ways to refer to them. Like Kaiser, our MC, you refer to him as young man a lot. I think I would actually make it easier on yourself and just refer to them by their name more frequently. I would refer to the characters by their names more frequently than what you're currently doing. Not all the time, but I think I would cut back about 50% of the time. Because sometimes like you refer to them by like their by like young man or an alternative description or their eye color. And it's just unnecessary because you don't want the reader to be thinking about the name. You want the reader to be focused on the action. So awesome. But overall, really, really great work. Like, I'm definitely pulled into the story, and I really want to know, like, what's up with this little, like, assassin chick. Like, this little, like, young assassin girl. Like, I'm the most intrigued by a little assassin chick. And where did Magnarius go? Now we got this, like, royal elf. No, he's not an elf. Royal green-eyed dude. I was like, I guess we'll find out. I'm assuming an elf. I don't know why. So, awesome. Unknown, you're so I'm so repetitive. I just realized that. But you know what? Like that happens to a lot of us unknown. Like we sometimes and that's part of the beauty of doing these live readings is sometimes we have to hear certain things read aloud to be able to get a good understanding and be able to kind of hear things that could be addressed or things that could be fixed. Like stylistically, for me, unknown, one of my biggest problems, and I would love to hear from everyone here. What is your number one weakness as a writer? I would love to hear what's your weakness, what's your number one weakness as a writer. Drop it in the comments, drop it in the description, because we all have things that we need to improve on. What is your number one weakness as a writer? Drop a comment. For me, it is over description. I have a tendency to over describe things. As such, I have a novel that is at 165,000 words and definitely needs to be cut down a little bit. So I know that about myself. And I've been working on it for many years. It's improved, but you know what? It's a process and I can still continue to get better. Now it is common for early drafts to be longer, but I know that's something I have to continue to work on for myself. So that way readers don't get lost in unnecessary word verbiage. So yeah, and Eli, that's a great call out, Eli. Yeah, it's also the first draft as well. Like I would say unknown for a first draft, it's actually a really solid first draft. Because you have to think about like how many drafts is your story going to go through? It'll probably go through a number of drafts, 4, 5, 6, 7, however many drafts it takes to get it ready for being published. So as a first draft, it's a really good first draft, my friend. Wordiness and dialogue. Yeah, LeMay. So yours is dialogue wordiness. Yeah, and it's what's interesting is writers will do that a lot because it's like they want to say the thing a certain way, but then they end up saying too much and it ends up feeling like the narrator. I totally get that. I like I think I practiced a lot on dialogue early on. So I don't think I struggle with dialogue as much per se, but like my rough draft dialogue was definitely very, very rough. That's for certain. I don't think a lot of my dialogue started improving until my second draft. Yeah, it looks like you're not the only one unknown with repetitive. I get repetitive when not knowing what to say. I totally get that. Totally, totally get that. And I think unknown that's the beauty of that is that just comes with practice, right? So the more you practice, the more you kind of learn different ways to frame things. If you're like in a moment with a character, you're like, okay, do I give the reader some interiority? Do I describe an action? Do I just move the dialogue along? Do I do a description? And the beautiful thing is, the more you practice, the more you kind of learn certain styles that work very well for you, which is awesome. Yeah, I mean, Eli, that's a great strategy. Usually try to have your characters say less than they should. Yeah, I think that's absolutely can be a really great strategy. Sometimes I wish my characters could say less than they should. Yeah, I feel like they'll want to like speak their own minds, especially my pixie. Oh man. Okay. So let's get into it. We're gonna be queuing up our next story. Who do we have on deck? Let's see. So, queued up next on deck, we're going to be turning the tables and switching over to young adult sci fi. Spark and Blizzard Volume 1 by Janine Batiste. So, Janine, I got your story queued up on deck. I'm going to be hopping into yours in just a second. But if you're enjoying the stream, follow or subscribe. With over 250 stories critiqued and over 740 consecutive writing streams, the WriteNow community is the place for you. If you're looking for an active writing community, if you're looking for consistency, if you're looking for accountability without guilt, if you're looking for other writers who are all trying to do the same thing, whether they're working on novels, screenplays, poems, stage plays, or something in between, we're all trying to accomplish that goal of telling the story that we want to tell and sharing it with the world. So, whether you're looking for workshops, critique streams, competitions, contests, or something else, make sure to tap that follow or subscribe button, and you'll be alerted when we go live. All right, all right, all right. And if you are just hopping into the stream, welcome. This is the story and critique show. Make sure that if you want feedback on your story, submit now. This is a bi-weekly stream where I do the live readings and live critiques for writers in the community. The submission link is down in the YouTube description. Masked, that's a good call. You're like, dialogue can be wordy if that's part of the character. Yes, but you see, like that has to be like an intentional character choice, right? Like, so there can be, and I mean, like we know those people in life, right? Who tend to talk way more when they're nervous, or maybe people who like to like over explain things. Well, you can have a character that does that. I think it's just the intentionality behind it. I would agree. Mm. Yeah, and Eli, you have to recognize a stream of conscious writing is hard. Stream of conscious writing is hard. I do my share of stream of conscious writing. Scarecrow, certain chapters play more heavily into stream of conscious writing, stream of consciousness writing, which I absolutely love, but it is harder because if it's stream of consciousness is usually tends to be more fragmented text, and if text is too fragmented, you might lose the reader to confusion. Waypay, you said yours is trying to be too concise. I have to be concise when writing for my job, but it bleeds into my personal writing. Well, I could probably Waypay. I'll trade you. I'll take some of your precise wording, and you can have some of my wordiness. Maybe we can meet in the middle. Yeah, and I think Eli, the cool thing is like knowing about ourselves, like our styles and our backgrounds, kind of allows us to figure out what our writing process looks like and how we can stay intentional. Awesome. All right, well, let's hop into the next one. Janine, I got you queued up on deck here. Awesome. All right. Wonderful, wonderful, Janine. Okay, so let me get myself queued up here and let's see just what we can help you out with. Okay, let's do it. Spark and Blizzard, Volume 1, a young adult science fantasy by Janine Batiste. This is a novel and it is currently in the revision stage. And Janine wants to know if we are immersed in the story. To expound on that, do we care about the protagonist? Do they sound in depth? Is the world building clear? Do you understand the magic system? Does the plot make sense? Okay, so you're asking really great questions. So they basically want to know, do we connect with the characters? Is the world building interesting? And then how do we feel about the magic system? And then does the plot make sense? So let's see what we can get into in this critique and see just what comes up. Chapter 1, Jovita Salazar. We screwed up. The second the tree cutters rev up their chainsaws, magenta arcs of electricity envelop my shaking hands. With my chest tightening, I shift my arms behind my back. I can't risk anyone catching my powers going out of control. Not if I have any chance of saving Miami Beach from a killer banyan tree. The tree's easy to spot, surrounding the abandoned and crumbling Art Deco buildings and overgrown flora, since it towers 150 meters, rivaling the highest skyscrapers of this barrier island. Crushed metal from old construction cranes intertwines with the branches and many trunks. Dried bloodstains coat sections of the trunk, metal, and concrete sidewalks. Daily reminders of this tree's power as a fellow harmonized Its rapid growth spurts are its built-in defense mechanism, designed to eliminate threats as definitively as possible. It's how the tree has stood over the ruins of the Soleil nightclub for the past 65 years. Ever since its initial growth spurt condemned 400 people to crushing and fiery deaths. It won't go down without a fight. Every trembling step along the empty asphalt streets takes twice as long as anticipated. I jump at every noise from their prep work, fearing I've been spotted. Avoiding splinters of metal, glass, and concrete along the 3-block path is next to impossible. I take my cell phone out of my turquoise and pink activewear dress pocket. Thursday, 2nd June 2072, 8:39, appears on top of my digital art rendering of the beach. Without appears on top of my digital art rendering of the beach without blinking, slows down or missing pixels on the lock screen. The rubber around the device protected it from frying just now. It's okay. Just reach the tree cutters before they start and force them to postpone their work until we can safely move the tree 30 kilometers away to an uninhabited island at Biscayne National Park. The tree only wants to live another day. I tried to say this at the town hall meeting a few weeks back, but I devolved into a nervous wreck in front of everyone. Again, Jen and Poppy, with their calm and collected speaking skills, finished for me. But the city council went ahead with this destructive plan anyway, both confident about the state-of-the-art tree cutting equipment and tired of waiting to remove Miami's biggest blemish. Our subsequent protests with my nature club allies, running all the way until yesterday, didn't change their minds either. We were just tree-hugging teens to the council, and frankly, everyone else in town. My stomach's been churning since last night, when the city announced they weren't postponing the cutting. It's up to me to stop the workers from making the biggest mistakes of their lives. This equipment won't be enough to tame the tree. I didn't trespass into this part of the city and forego a filling breakfast for a full smoothie for nothing. I'll save my home and my fellow citizens from death and destruction. I crouch next to a concrete wall out of the cutter's sightline and take a deep breath, filling my lungs of salty ocean air from hundreds of meters away on all sides. Ideally, my presence and my voice should be enough. If I have to use my powers to stop this job, I will. I hope my electromagnetic pulse, EMP, doesn't take out half the electronics on the island with it. With the lack of obvious cameras, there's a chance I can keep my harmonized abilities secret. If they try to cut the tree, the roots and limbs will grow north of the south of 5th restricted zone. Unlike the last 4 attempts over the past half century, the banyan tree will probably crush the pristine Art Deco buildings. Worse, thousands of people inside them, as well as people walking along the sidewalks, will be killed within minutes. The survivors will likely demand removal of all harmonized from Dade Provincia. As the lone human harmonized in the area, they'll blame me for all the deaths and could have me executed. But if I succeed and save everyone, I might be able to reveal my status, and the city leaders will protect me from outside forces as a local hero. They don't have to know that my specific powers label me as a terrorist by default. Today is only the first step to bridging understanding between humans, nature, and the harmonized. Lauren, my robotic sidekick, a wolf with a purple and black fur-like exterior, walks over the cracked pavement and stops to the right of me. Before I can focus on the moon-shaped mark over her right eyebrow, she locks amethyst eyes with mine. Don't panic yet, Jovita. You have a few minutes. Lauren doesn't move her jaw, communicating with me through electrical impulses, as always with her artificial intelligence brain. The patch of St. Augustine grass under her paws shrivels to gray cinder with only a flicker of fading light. I let out a heavy sigh, accustomed to the plant life withering away behind her. If dead grasses are only a misstep, I'll be thankful. A victory today will take us one step closer to freeing Lauren and the harmonized robots like her, the sparks from their curse of killing all life with their touch. A pint glow pops on my wrist for a moment. I shudder as I try to take control of the panic building in my body. You'll be fine. Remember the training we went through last week. Deep breaths. Everything's still here. Fingers crossed the city stays standing by lunchtime. You're right. I keep my voice hushed so only Lauren can hear. Be aware of the mana near me. Even if we can't see it, mana is all around us. The minuscule energy particles fuel the powers of the harmonized life forms like me, Lauren, and the banyan tree. Though our abilities can sometimes activate when we don't want them to. Calm down. I will not become the girl who ruined everything. I am a harmonized. These powers are for me to control. I clasp my hands and picture my electric energy and mana as a river inside me, easing the chaos of a raging current into a soothing calm. The arcs disappear from my arms. Relax, relate, release. My chestnut brown skin is no longer wrapped with pink light, and no worse for wear thanks to my natural electric resistance. I pull my long black Senegalese twists into a loose ponytail to keep them out of the way. We're good to go, I say to Lauren. Electrical fields hum around me, like a sixth sense, not overwhelming my attention. The biggest spike is from the workers' equipment, and I glance above. A street camera glimmers on the rooftop of a crumbling apartment building. The city must have installed them this week so people can watch the cutting safely on their screens and away from danger. The lens is aimed away from me. If I can't produce an EMP, I'll have Lauren take the tree down before it hurts anyone else as a last resort. It will only be the latest episode of the Sparks tale of secretly defending Miami from danger, as they have for nearly 2 decades. Hopefully this one doesn't restart another round of the government hunting them down. I place my hand on one of the exposed roots and speak with a whisper. I'm sorry in advance if I can't save you. After years of communication with this tree, I can't say if it understands human speech like Lauren and the other sparks I befriended. This tree is all biological. It doesn't hurt to try. It works in video games and manga. I sigh. Am I a jerk for putting humans ahead of me, my fellow harmonized? Lauren turns to me, her eyes glaring. We've been over this, Jovita. Hard choices like this must sometimes be made. Easy for her to say. I have to protect my image as an ordinary university student with a 97 grade average. She doesn't. Lauren, this tree, and me, all three of us connected by being misunderstood by human society that doesn't truly appreciate nature. An emerald flash streaks across the sky above the ocean to the east. The increased mana produces a faint mint scent and puts pressure on my skin. It's not the salt ash bonfire of this tree. I stare, bewildered. A metal clang from the workers' tools return me to the task. I'll find out about the flash after we save the city. While Lauren moves to the side of the collapsed building, I step just outside the cutter's sightline. Their hard hats and fancy toys glimmer in the Florida morning sunlight. The laser blades and robot-controlled chainsaws are as fancy as they were in the ads. Glowing green orbs sit at the tips of the machines, much like the green lights on the LED Remnant Danger Alert program, the mana detection system on every street corner. Right now, the amount of mana being channeled is under the threshold to trigger a warning for a chaotic incident, like the one that grew this tree decades ago, or what would happen if I unleashed my full power. Just explain, and my breath heaves. If I'm struggling to speak now, the workers will throw me out and proceed with the tragic plan. All right, and I'm going to pause the reading there. I was looking to see if there was a beat. All right, it looks like she's about to have an action scene. Okay. So we're gonna pause the reading there. Really, really great work, Janine. Wow. Oh my god, I absolutely love the magic system. I think my favorite part of that was actually the magic system. It's interesting. I asked myself, okay, I can definitely feel this as young adult. Young adult definitely feels clear. I could see it's sci fantasy. What was young adult science fantasy? You know what? I could actually see it. Actually, I think the genre and the tone of this is actually very, very clear. It feels young adult, and I could see the science fantasy because of the magic. It seems like it's like it's like an electric type of magic. I'm very intrigued by that magic system, by the way. Yeah, like a couple of words were mispronounced. A couple words were mispronounced, but it's fine. Yeah, and I mean it's also like it's also another thing with these cold readings because I don't read them beforehand. Sometimes it's a shot in the dark with certain words. Yeah, maybe I should start including in the submission guidelines if people want to add what was that? People want to add a pronunciation guide. I'm like just realizing that. He said it's more comic book style superpowers, but it's more obvious in a couple. Yeah, I could actually kind of start to sense that. I could totally see this as a comic book. I totally could. Like I think this I could imagine almost the visualizations with this girl and this robotic dog. That robotic dog was super cool, by the way. I think when I think about what worked really well for me, I think the character development was really strong. I would say character development was really strong. The world building was pretty cool. And then I think I had my biggest questions about the plot. So I think right now the plot is the biggest opportunity, but we're also early on, so it's hard to say. And I think it just needs a little bit of clarity. So let's get into it. Okay, and let's see what we see. And by the way, if you're listening along, what did you think about it? Was there something that really stood out to you? Drop a comment. I would love to hear. So when we go back and we did about 10 pages. So when I start back up here, I know, Janine, your biggest question, let me pull back up your submission. Your biggest question sounds like it was on clarity, right? Are all the things clear? So I was immersed in the story. I would say I was definitely immersed. For me personally, as a fantasy fan, I was immersed by the magic, and then that mechanical dog is really cool. I like the mechanical dog. So far, the mechanical dog is my favorite. Is I think my favorite element. I would say magic system, intrigued, mechanical dog. Those are my two favorite things of this excerpt. To expand, do I care about the protagonist? Do I care about her? Do I care about her? I would say like neutral. I'm not disinterested in her yet. I'm intrigued, but I don't feel like I have a reason to care about her yet. Does she sound like an in-depth? She definitely sounds in-depth. So like I can definitely tell. Even right before she like goes forward, I can tell that she's referencing that she has to balance this like lifestyle with like being a student and then also having these abilities. It's like, okay, cool. I love that. I love that type of arc. That's totally like that type of character arc with like student. She's like student by day, vigilante, superhero, some type by night type of deal. So I like that. Her character definitely feels in depth so far. Um, is the world building clear that it's a near future alternate Earth that's mostly thriving? Um, let's see I don't think I get a clear enough sense on what type of world it is. I know it takes place on Earth, so I'm very clear so far that it takes place on Earth. I'm not yet sure what type of Earth that we're on. If I were to take a gut instinct guess, I would just guess it's the normal world. Um, I'm not quite sure. I don't quite know. Oh no, actually, you did actually. Hold on. You did have a moment here where you referenced the exact date, Thursday, June 2nd. Yeah, so that was really clear. You were right. I forgot about that for a second, but I'm like, all right, you literally give us the date. You're good. You're fine. Near future, it was Earth. So I'm assuming it's Earth, but it's 2072. And it's 26, so about 50 years in the future. So I'm like, that's good. A lot of science fiction does that pretty commonly. Um, so that was clear. I don't think I fully understand the magic system yet, but I don't think I'm supposed to yet by this point. The magic system's created a lot of intrigue. Um, you were asking about filler and fluff. So I think my recommendation is I think yeah, so I think there could be some cleanup in the beginning. I'm trying to ask myself, what is this initial plot? So we have our main character who wants to save this tree from crumbling on the Art Deco building, and they're going to kill a bunch of people. Um, Questions that come to mind is, why does she want to save the tree? It seems like the tree has some type of relevance, but I'm not quite sure what the relevance is of the tree. Can she like talk to the tree? You refer to the tree by something. I'm not quite sure yet. Like, do trees talk, or do trees have like innate intelligence? I was intrigued. I wanted to know more. Um, and then also, if the tree is about to fall on a building and kill a bunch of people, then how come tree cutters are cutting it down in the first place? I don't quite yet understand why the tree cutters are cutting it down. Well, let's go through it because I want to. Tree is a harmonized. There you go. And so So part of that is because I don't know what a harmonized means yet, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, because we're still so early on. But because I don't know what a harmonized is, I don't understand the importance of the tree. Which, like I said, it's not necessarily a bad thing this early on. I get that a harmonized is important, because you referenced it a couple times, but I just don't understand it, that concept quite yet. Okay, so the tree can't talk. So okay, so the tree can't talk, but it has some type of ability. Oh, that's really intriguing. Actually, that's actually really intriguing. So the tree doesn't. Huh, it's very interesting. So then it means that even like non-humanoid characters can have innate abilities. That's actually kind of cool, Janine. I actually really like that concept. That's actually a really cool concept. Um, Yeah, that's actually a really cool concept. I wish I want to understand that sooner because that's actually really intriguing to me. I don't think I've seen something like that. I would assume either the tree is intelligently aware or it's not intelligent. But I didn't really think like, okay, well, it's technically it has an ability, but it's not that type of intelligence. It's like almost like it's like a nature ability is my assumption, but I love this opening, by the way. This is actually a cool opening. The second tree cutters rev up their chainsaws. Magenta arcs of electricity envelop my shaking hands. This was a good one. And then she pulls back because she can't be seen. Cool. All right. So some we have some main character in about to do some electric. She's like, what's that? The Marvel superhero is a storm, like about to do some like storm thing with her hands. And then she pulls back. All right. And then so this is the thing, right? So a killer banyan tree. What's a banyan tree? That's probably a type of tree, I imagine. What's a banyan tree? Oh, okay. That's just those like willowy looking types of trees that have all the things hanging down. Those are actually really cool types of trees, by the way. The trees are to spot. The towers. Yep. So you do reference the tree as a harmonized, which is fine because like that's what it is. But I think because we don't understand harmonized yet, it's almost kind of like we gloss over it as a reader because I don't know what harmonized means yet at this point in the story. Not necessarily a bad thing, but just something to be aware of. All right. Okay. So as I'm thinking, as I'm like seeking to understand this, so crushed metal from old construction cranes intertwines with the branches in many trunks. Dried bloodstains. Daily reminders of this tree's power as a fellow harmonized. So it's almost like the tree is growing in power. Its rapid growth spurts are built-in defense mechanism designed to eliminate threats as definitively as possible. It's how the tree has stood over the ruins of the Soleil nightclub for 65 years. Its initial growth spurt basically condemned 400 people. So, okay, so when it first started, it killed a bunch of people. It won't go down without a fight. Makes me think that it's kind of like the Whomping Willow. I think that's the closest like thing. Janine, I don't know why that just came to me. For some reason, I'm thinking like the Whomping Willow now from Harry Potter. Um, but the Whomping Willow as if it had a magical ability. Yeah, so I think Janine, every step trimming along the city asphalt streets makes twice as long as a jump at every noise. So I think once we start with her character description and her setup, I'm good with her setup. Our main character is interesting so far. I think the beginning, I think the tree bit, I think it has to be clarified. Um, and I'm asking myself, how would I go about doing it? And it's like you're giving us the information about the tree, which is good. I think you just have to be. I think you have to be way more. I think you're going to have to be way more direct, because what's happening is you're introducing a lot of concepts to us, which the reader just doesn't know yet, and because this is their first thing, um, the reader's trying to understand like what it is. So we know this is a large tree. We know it's basically super big. There's people who are trying to cut it down, tree cutters, and it feels like it's killed people in the past. Harmonized kind of throws us off because we don't know what a harmonized is yet. I might um, I might stay away from referencing it as a harmonized until you tell the reader what is a harmonized, because I think it might be better if you set up our MC as a harmonized, or as whatever the ability is first, and then maybe detail harmonized in a little bit. Um, I think what I would do, if I were going through this, I would clarify what the conflict is with the tree. Not if I have any chance of saving Miami Beach from a killer banyan tree. And I would make it more direct. I would go in here and I would use a paragraph here of um, the and don't lie. I'm just giving you an example here. I'll just do this so you know it's me. Tree about to kill 450 people, or however many people, because I think you reference it down farther below. I would introduce the conflict. I would clarify the conflict here. Tree about to kill 450 people with its power. And I would say, instead of referencing it as harmonized, I would say, what is its ability? Is it like about to like drop branches on like the people? Is it about to like crush the building? I think I'm trying to grasp what the tree is about to do. Okay, yeah, so that's even crazier, right? So thousands of people will die, yeah? So a tree about to kill thousands of people. And that's crazy, right? And that is extreme, like that's great conflict right there. It's going to crush the building if it's triggered. Okay, say that, right? And I think that's tree about to kill thousands of people. Tree about to crush thousands of people if it's triggered. And then the reader's like, oh, wait, what? A tree can be triggered? You could use it as an opportunity if you did want to describe what AM harmonized is. You could use it. What the workers are doing will trigger the attack. Gotcha. Okay. Tree about to crush thousands of people if it's triggered. The last time it was triggered, and then you use this, you reference it down here. It killed 450 people. It killed 450 people. The last time it was triggered, it killed 450 people. And then when it is triggered, what does that look like? So with it killing people, and I know you describe like you do a good description of describing like the overall look of it, which I'm actually fine with the overall descriptions, but I need to know as a reader, what is the specific thing it's going to do when it kills people? So if it was triggered, does it smash its branches down and like crush people? Does it grow bigger? Does it trap people within its like trunk? Like, I think trying to understand the visual of what happens when it is triggered will help me as a reader be able to identify what the danger is. Yeah, and that totally makes sense. So I totally got that they didn't want to evacuate the city because of the frenzy. The visual. Oh, okay, so it's a bit further down. That makes sense. I would then if you're going to describe it more in depth, I might explain what is the what happened when it killed the 450 people. And I don't think you need to go into full in-depth exploration, because this is kind of just a setup. But I'd say the last time it was triggered, it killed 450 people by doing X action. And I think the reason you want the reader to know is because then the reader can visualize and relate, like, okay, if this tree is triggered, it is going to slam branches onto the people and kill them. Otherwise, what happens is the reader's trying to understand the concept of a tree. For example, if I put right here and I was like doing a Harry Potter thing, the Whomping Willow is a magical tree that when you get near it, its branches come to life and flail about, killing anybody who comes near. That's clear to me. So I think trying to understand, I think because this isn't a normal tree and like you're doing something very unique. Because it's very unique, you have to be clear on the setup for it or the reader might potentially get lost. So I think that would be my recommendation. I just gave you just an example here. Like this is just off the top of my head. You could word things like 100 times better than I could. I was thinking like the Great Carlin Tree and Tales of Symphonia. It's actually kind of cool. It's been a while since I've done Tales of Symphonia. That's actually a really cool thing, Janine. I love that actually. Let me pull that up. Let's see. The Great Carlin Tree. Yeah, so I think that would be my recommendation for this. I think once you clarify and you get us on board with the setup with the tree, I think the beginning of this chapter will be really, really strong. I think the tree bit is the only thing that's confusing right now. And because the tree is intertwined with the plot of this first chapter, it makes the plot hard to understand. So let's see. So once I get past that, um, then we get into our character. You set up the world fine. And then this is fine. So we're kind of getting into our character development. Obviously, our main character is nervous. They're not good at speaking. They're not good at public speaking. And basically, it looks like they do a bunch of club work. I almost feel like this backstory. It's up to me to stop the workers. The equipment won't be enough to tame the tree. I almost feel like this backstory, it's important to character development. I don't think it's important in this very moment because you're setting this up as an action scene. I would focus on the action of the tree and her trying to save the tree from thousands of citizens, right? So if thousands of people are about to die. So if thousands of people are about to die, then the question I ask myself as a reader is like, okay, well, why is she standing there just like thinking, right? I would keep us focused in the present moment, save this description for after she saves the people, because I want to get to the action sooner. But that could just be me and wanting like that action sequence. That's a little bit more subjective on my part. Yeah, so you said neutral about the character. Janine, my recommendation is get to the fight scene sooner. Put the character in peril. Let us see her cool magical abilities come to life. And then give us a moment where the character almost dies or she almost gets hurt. And then that will make me care about the character. So, like I said, like me caring, like it wasn't necessarily a good or a bad thing. I wouldn't have a better idea until I get through the end of the first chapter to really fully understand. But if you were trying to make it happen sooner, get us to the action sooner would be my recommendation. I think with her not wanting her harmonized abilities to be known, I think that's interesting. I think that's definitely interesting. Yeah, and I mean, like, this is so, like, right now, this is her motivation. Her motivation is she doesn't want thousands of people to die. And I think you could even tie in the end of this, where that goes. So the thousands of people to die. I think if you set us up with the tree bit, us that we're clear on what the tree is, and then she's crouching on the sidewalk. If she does nothing, thousands of people will die this time. I think you can make that a little, bring that up a little sooner. Right? Will likely demand removal. As a lone human, they'll blame me for all the deaths and could have me executed. Right there. Here is the true character motivation. Yes, she doesn't want people to die, but does she actually care about the deaths, or is it that she doesn't want to be executed? Both things can be right or wrong, but just something interesting. I find this intriguing. Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. She's the lone harmonized in the area. Yeah, so she wants to save the people and she doesn't want to be executed. I almost wonder if you should make this clear because like this motivation is extremely clear. Um if I don't save the people, they will execute me. I might even make that clear. Have this as like its own have it as its own like sentence. Like and I'll put this here just so you know it's me. If I don't save people, I could be executed. Maybe make it its own like sentence, its own line. That could make it a little bit more powerful. So yeah, and I mean I think that those would be my biggest I think those would be my biggest recommendations, Janine. Yeah, and then I think once we get into her describing the powers and introducing the dog, I think then I'm pretty clear. So I think really the biggest thing is us getting to just the action a little sooner. I think would be my recommendation. So yeah, but overall, this is a really interesting setup for the story. I can definitely tell it's gone through a number of revisions, and that you're really working on trying to make things clearer. So I think when you're asking yourself, how can you like get rid of fluff? I would ask myself, what if you've already talked about something, like if you've already talked about like the tree, or you've already talked about it killing people, or if you've already mentioned like her motivation, then don't no need to refer to it a second time. Let's get into the action, and then you can reference it throughout. Yeah, like you think this actually opens things up, as I got a ton of feedback and it felt like it didn't get that much in-depth feedback. Awesome. Well, yeah, I hope that helps out a little bit, Janine. Definitely hope that helps out a little bit. I always appreciate when ever writers in the community are able to submit. Yeah, and I mean that's always the thing with these live readings, Janine, because I only have X amount of time to be able to spend on a piece of writing, and because I'm reading it for the first time, sometimes I'm able to get into the heart of them, and sometimes I'm not, because I'm going to have to, for me to fully comprehend and grasp what the core roots of the problems are, I would have to read them more in depth, like a true alpha beta reading. So So that's what I would recommend. Janine, what I'd say is if you want some more like in-depth feedback, you're always welcome to resubmit. So you're always welcome to resubmit. If you have like any specific questions, you're definitely welcome to email. I'll send out an email to everyone, and you can get like some additional clarity on some of the things that you wanted to know. So, but unfortunately, with like the time, and so that way I can get to as many people as possible, it's limited on how much time I can spend. I've already gone overtime with you because I wanted to help you out here, but I have to help out as many people as possible. So, but I appreciate you. What I'd say, Janine, if you want like some additional, more in depth, I would say like reach out to me. It feels like this needs more of like an in depth alpha beta reading, and needs for would need for me to actually like read it fully, to be able to kind of give that type of in depth feedback that you're looking for. So yeah, but I appreciate you submitting. Yeah, Mass, that's actually really good. I meant that my alpha beta reads were very vague. Oh, okay, cool. I'm like, I'm glad this helps out a little bit. I couldn't tell if the feedback was not in depth enough or you need more. That's awesome. Yeah, so Janine, what I would also say is Mass Toaster brings up a really good point. Drop it in our Discord. I would say you should definitely drop this in our Discord. Maybe drop this first chapter. I would say just drop the first chapter and see if you can get help. Um, Make sure to pose those questions, and then see if anybody else is willing to trade. Like, hey, I need help with this chapter. Could you get help? If you're wanting like additional feedback outside of what we've chatted about. Yeah, you can usually get more in-depth feedback from the Discord, because usually somebody's able to kind of sit back and read through it. But I mean, this is what we're all about, right? We're all trying to help each other with this process. I appreciate you, Courtney. Yeah, and then of course for anybody who does want like editing and more in-depth editing services, I think, Janine, if I were going to like take a crack at something like this would probably be for a developmental edit, would be my guess. I know you've gotten a lot of alpha beta reader feedback. I could definitely see this as an alpha beta, as an alpha read or a developmental edit if you're wanting more feedback on the specific lines. For anybody who wants to better understand like my pricing structure, or wants to better understand what my editing services are like, you can always reach out for a free consult. I do editing, alpha reading, coaching, all the things. If you want to know more, sign up for a free consult, and we can kind of talk about what my process is. Generally, the way I charge is I look at the industry rates for industry standards, and then I give huge discounts for writers in the community. So I give huge discounts for channel members. I give huge discounts for first-time clients. I recognize writing a book is extremely expensive. I know, I'm right there with you. So I try to discount it as much as possible. So if anybody's wanting like help with their stuff, there's my no, that's not the right one. Where'd it go? If anybody's wanting help with their stuff, where's my writing services? Awesome. There we go. Anybody who's wanting help with stuff, sign up for some writing services, and we can kind of chat more about how we can help you out. So yeah, Janine, that was awesome. Okay, so on that note, let's see. So I feel like we made really good progress with that one. Woo, I always love hearing more different like types of comments and types of feedback from people. And what I have to say, I absolutely love all of the feedback that you guys are giving in the comments. all of you give some really, really great feedback, some really great ideas, and some really great strategies to be able to help others improve. I appreciate it. The writers appreciate it. Whether the writers are here in the live stream or if they're watching on the replay, this is awesome. And this is how we help each other grow. And you guys also mentioned some great things. So the story and critique stream, this is the free way to help writers look at a snapshot of an excerpt. For others who want more like in-depth or want different types of feedback, we have a lot of resources. We have the Discord group. We have our Discord. There's literally a feedback channel for writers to get help. For people who want to invest a little bit of money, but they're like, hey, you know what, I'm broke. We have the monthly critique group. That is a $10 a month thing where writers can show up to our critique group. We usually have 5 to 10 other writers. You read it aloud to this private group. Everyone gives feedback. That's kind of like the next step. And then if for writers are like, you know what, I've saved up some money, I'm ready to invest, then that's when you can start looking towards paying alpha beta readers and editing things that I do. In addition, another thing, I'm also working on designing the Write Unite Alpha Beta Reading Program. This is a program that's going to bring down the cost for writers to alpha and beta read their book and guarantee good feedback. This is a system that I'm designing to compete with Fiverr. Too many times I hear from writers that they reach out to people on Fiverr, and sometimes they're good readers, sometimes they're bad, sometimes the feedback's great, sometimes it sucks, but it costs money to write a book. So I'm trying to help bring that cost down. We are doing as many things as possible to be able to help you with getting the stuff out there. Whew, all right. I always try to make sure that we have free ways to help writers and non-free and paid ways for those who have the money. So thanks, Eli. I appreciate that. Yeah, the critique group is awesome. We're usually able to give everyone some really, really great feedback. All right, and so let's get into it. Let's hop into the next story. Excellent. And I like that our early stories were like so like different from one another. I thought that was actually really, really cool. I always like when there's that variety with different stories. All right, so let's see what we see. We're going to hop into the next one. All right, and who do I have on deck? So we are next going to hop into, let's see, Eli, I got yours on deck. Baboon Pie and Jaguar Champagne. So Eli, I got yours queued up next. Let's hop into it. We're going to be doing a continuation of your story, of which I want to say it was maybe a couple critique streams ago, maybe a month and a half, give or take. When I think we did the last bit of this chapter. So Eli, we're going to hop into yours next. Let me cue it up. Yeah. Awesome. So let me pull it up here. Oh, what a thrilling conclusion. Sounds like we're about to get a nice end off to this chapter we've been going through. Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. Okay, so here we go. I got it queued up on our end. And bear with me just a second. Got to respond to something. Time sensitive. Okay, excellent. So let's do it. Wow. I can't believe like this is also something that really happened to you. Okay, so I think I am ready on my end, and let me pull up Eli your stuff. Okay. Baboon Pie and Jaguar Champagne, a science fiction, a sci-fi by author Eli M. And let's see, Eli, this is what feedback. So any feedback is welcome. This is the first draft of a novel. For those of you who've missed out, we've done earlier parts of this chapter in previous critique streams. If you missed out on those previous episodes, Courtney created the Story and Critique Archive, which lists all the stories we've done, all the episodes, everything's linked and time coded. That's down in the YouTube description. Okay. So, this was a continuation. Last time, Renee ran out of Bible study. After a difficult question was raised by one of the girls, Maxine has asked to retrieve her, and they have a conversation. The wind outside building A5 had picked up considerably since she noticed it tussling the treetops through the window. The sky was a familiar greenish yellow under the blanket of gathering clouds. That meant a storm was coming. A real storm. Renee was sitting with her back against the trunk of a huge tree. She was weeping. Renee? Maxine walked toward her slowly. I'm not going to bite you, Renee said, noticing her overcautious approach. You don't have to walk like I'm some wild animal. Renee's expression shifted from pain to amusement, and she started to chuckle softly. Maxine sighed with momentary relief. She was happy to see Renee smiling. She looked a lot like her sister Jennifer, but Renee was no great beauty like her. Jennifer was as lovely as the Blessed Virgin. Everyone said so. No one said so about Renee. She was a little chubby, despite the manual labor all the members of the CCHT undertook. And her eyes weren't quite as bright. Her smile wasn't quite as warm as Jennifer's, but she had the same auburn hair and green eyes, and she was pretty enough. Just not as pretty as her sister. Maxine knelt next to her friend and took Renee's hand and gave it a quick squeeze, then let it go. What's so funny? She asked, happy to leave something to coax Renee's feelings out of her. You reminded me of the day we became friends. Do you remember? Not friendly. Friends. Renee's smile continued to grow in spite of the few drops of rain that had started to sprinkle her and Maxine. The wind was whipping around by now with intensity, and tresses of Renee's hair started to dance at their ends. Of course I remember. Maxine rolled her eyes and shook her head. For the first time that day, Renee looked her in the eye and smiled. The mountain lion, they said at the same time, and both started laughing. They were clearing trees from where the rabbit hutches are now, and your daddy and brother Stokeworth Lay were knocking the little sycamores down with an excavator. I remember thinking it was strange that they didn't cut them down, just knock them over with the big arms of that machine. But that's what they were doing. How old were they then? You must have been 10 or 11, Renee said. And I was about 9? Is that right? Can that really be right? Doesn't feel like it was 15 years ago, does it? Maxine was shocked when she realized she had full-fledged memories that were 15 years old. Not like being born, nothing like that. She could talk, she could tie her shoes in this memory. Feels like yesterday. Renee agreed. Once all the trees had been knocked down, the men went back to the main hall and had some lunch, and there were 5 or 6 of us kids left out there. Craig and Lester wanted to go back and have some food, and before long, all I can remember is that all the kids went off somewhere else, except you. I don't remember why I didn't go back with the rest of them. That's strange, huh? I don't even know why I was still there when it happened. It's not strange at all, Maxine said. It was God's will, obviously. He wanted us to meet. Renee frowned a little, just for a second. Maybe, she conceded. Maybe it was because you were picking up the chainsaw. Maxine blurted out a laugh. Yeah, maybe it was that. She grinned sheepishly and rubbed the back of her neck. The misting of raindrops earlier had given way to a full-fledged downpour. She could hear the smacking of wet leaves above her, and what sounded like the whistle of a far-off train. I didn't know that was the plan, to knock the trees down and cut them into rounds with the chainsaws. Renee continued. I don't know what I was expecting. Maybe a little army of beavers to come creeping out of the woods and drag all the downed trees away to make a giant dam somewhere. My mama showed me how to use one, Maxine said, and I thought it was funny to see the looks on the boys' faces when they came and saw a girl using the chainsaw. She always enjoyed that look. I thought you were going to kill yourself. Renee laughed and squeezed Maxine's shoulder. I kept screaming, turn it off, turn it off. Couldn't hear you. Maxine's cheeks were starting to hurt from smiling. But you wanted to try it once. You saw me make my first cut, huh? You were so confident and you made it seem fun, Renee said. I just wanted to feel the way it looked like you felt. Her smile slowly faded. And? Maxine prompted. And what? Did you feel that way? Maxine looked at her friend. Renee blushed for a moment before she answered. After you showed me how to use it. The smile returned, only this time it seemed more real. Still don't understand why it came up so close. Not with the sound of two chainsaws going, but when I looked up, it was just sitting there, just beyond the tree line. Must have been 30 feet away, tops. A mountain lion. I didn't know why you stopped cutting, Renee said. I probably wouldn't have stopped myself if I hadn't noticed that there was only one sound instead of two. When I noticed, I turned around and saw you standing still, staring at it. Then I saw it. I'd never been that scared before, since either, Maxine admitted. Scared? I was the one who was scared. I couldn't even move. You were too brave to be scared. When you're scared is the only time you can be brave. And I did my fair share of standing there, staring at it like it might just melt away if I didn't blink. But when I did blink and it was gone, I remembered something Mr. Jeffries said when his cat scared me. If cat is scared, it fluff up, make itself look big. Big is scary, and make a lot of noise. Noise is scary. When you started screaming at it, I thought you lost your mind. Maybe I did. I just knew that I had to rev the chainsaw as long as and loud as it would go and scream and stretch my arms out and look big. You looked insane, but it worked. Well, sort of. That poor thing must have gotten bored and just wandered back home. It's not like I chased it off. Still, though, you saved me. Renee smiled at Maxine, not a laughing sort of smile that comes from something funny. This was a sad-looking smile, and Maxine felt happy and sad to see it. It felt good to hear that Renee appreciated what she'd done so much. So good that she realized she was giving herself the credit instead of giving it to God, and the good feeling was replaced with shame. It was God, Renee. I didn't save you. He saved us. Renee spat on the ground. No, it was you, Maxine. She was getting angry. If God wanted us to be safe, why would he send the mountain lion here at all? What sort of sense does that make? Why would he send all the adults away? Why would he even make mountain lions, Maxine, if his concern was our safety? What are you talking about, Renee? Is that why you ran out of Bible study? Because of the day we saw a mountain lion? The wind had switched directions when Maxine wasn't paying attention, and the trees weren't blocking the rain anymore. She could feel the cold water on her scalp and flinch when the first icy drops hit her unsuspecting back. The cold water yanked her back from the memory of that day. It had been so terrifying then, but we were just giggling little girls about it. And she realized there wasn't anyone else outside. Not that she could see anyway. Renee, will you tell me what's the matter so we can go back inside? Renee took a deep breath, and her face twisted in anguish. She opened her mouth to speak, but caught herself and covered her mouth with her fingers. Maxine could see her eyes darting around, scrutinizing something off in her peripheral vision, like a light that was too bright to look at directly. I can't, Maxine. I just want to help Renee. A tear rolled down Renee's cheek, and she sniffed loudly and wiped it away with the sleeve of her tunic. The tunic was soaked through and left her face wetter than it was before. You wouldn't understand, Max. I'm sorry. You can't help me. Fine. Then maybe Sister Edna? Or Mr. Jeffries? Or even the Prophet? Renee laughed mirthlessly. Ridistina was right, Maxine. Those aren't figs and grapes in the Prophet's tree. There was a momentary flash of light that turned the sky white from the sickly yellow-green of the gathering storm, and for one last instant Maxine could see the life she had known up to that day in its full bright splendor. We really should get back. They'll be worried, and it ain't safe out here in this. Maxine gestured, running her hand through the sheets of rain that poured down after the flash had opened up the clouds properly. The clap of thunder was so violent and sudden that Maxine yelped in surprise. Her heart pounded from the adrenaline that followed the sound, but Renee stood still as a stone. You should get inside, Max. It's like you said, it's not safe for you out here. Renee turned around and walked away into the rain without another word. Wow. Wow, wow, wow. Wow, I thought we got such a crazy moment. Oh my goodness. So this was a really impactful moment for our main character. Oh my goodness. So this was really interesting. So I feel what I think what's interesting is this bit of the chapter really ties us up on the change that our MC is going through, that Renee is going through, as she's feeling this further and further disconnect with the Prophet. It's essentially with the Prophet and with this organization that she's always been a part of. We see I think what's interesting is we see earlier setups to this. We see some hesitancy and some unknowns and some fear. We do some decent level of foreshadowing. I remember the first part. Second part is an outward like burst of like, all right, well, why does she run out? Why does she respond the way that she does? And then we're kind of tying off that like, no, this isn't something new. This is clearly something that she's been dealing with for a while. She has clearly been it's clearly been on her mind for some time that this was not right for her. That something about the way that she perceives God, something that the way that she perceives like this community, something feels wrong with her morally. And I think you do a very good job of not finalizing isn't the right word, but of bringing that all together in this final section. So I thought that was definitely really, really well done. I would say in this section, I would say character development was definitely the strongest. I would say definitely character development. There's actually a lot of strong elements of this piece. I would say you did a good job. Character development felt strong. I had a clear sense of both of our characters. World building, well, it does a little. This section doesn't really focus too much on world building as much. I was pretty good with their dialogue. The plot felt clear. I think the biggest thing that this excerpt needs is just like cleanup. I think it just needs to be cut down a little. I was like, I don't want that. What the heck? I was like, I don't know about that. So I was like, I think the biggest thing this needs is just a little bit of cleanup. I think I want to get to the Renee Maxine heartwarming moment a little sooner. I get why we're doing I get why we're going through through the story. What's that? A mountain lion? Mountain lion. I was like, yeah, make sure it's a mountain lion. So I think what I would recommend is the mountain lion story itself dragged on just a little bit. And really the goal of the chapter is that they're reminiscing over this mountain lion story, and it's making Renee realize that she's been discontent for a while, and it started in that moment. Yeah, I think I would condense the mountain lion story. I think I would condense that. I think that would be my biggest recommendation. Yeah. Let's see. When I go through it, I really love the setup to this section, though, by the way. Clearly, we're using a storm. I'm all for that. Renee and Maxine are now sitting outside in the middle of a storm. I think something you do so well in this chapter or in this segment, you do such a great job of that bond with Maxine and Renee. And this is why I think that I would say character development is probably the strongest piece of this excerpt. I feel the friendship, the fractured friendship that Renee feels with Maxine. And that because of her further discontent and her further lack of beliefs in God and essentially the prophet, that it's basically creating this distance between the two of them. And I think there's something about that that's really powerful. Yeah, so we start the mountain lion bit here, and then how long do we go on mountain lion story? The chainsaw bit was interesting. So, okay, so the thematic core of this chapter is the God moment. So it's all right. So this is the core. So this is the core character beat that's important to this chapter, and this is what sends us into the last bit of the chapter, and and the realization that that change has happened. Um, so essentially we want to get to this moment. It was God, Renee. I didn't save you. He saved us. We want to get to this moment sooner. Right now we have what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we got about 6 now. If this was like 12-point font, this is probably like about 3, 4 pages, my guess. Yeah, so actually, let's see. If I drop this to 12 point, let's see how much this is. 12 point. Mountain Lion story is about 1, 2. Yeah, so it's about 3 pages, give or take. I would say Mountain Lion. I would say if you can cut down on the mountain lion story by about half a page and then prune, I think it'll be in a much better place because a lot of it is them reminiscing, which is good, but then it feels like they keep on reminiscing about the story. And usually when you're reminiscing about something, like usually like they both know the story, right? They both lived and experienced it. Usually you'll reminisce over highlights, but it feels like you're giving us the full story because we know the reader needs to know it. Um, so I think I would touch more on highlights of the story. Um, because really it's not about the story that's important. It's about the way that what's important is how she's going to react to the God bit, right? And how it's going to tie back in your character. That's the important part of this chapter. So, yeah. Awesome. I was just kind of curious. Sometimes I like to bring that font back up just to see how much it is. Um, but I mean, once we get to the revelation moment with God, like I loved the end of the chapter very, very much. Yeah, and I'm like the end of the chapter. Once we get to the God moment, I'm actually perfect. I'm good with the rest of the chapter. I'm good with it. Because I think there's a good deal of conflict here between the characters, and it's tied back into her character journey that you set up at the very beginning of the chapter, that we read in the previous excerpts. And I like that where you're getting a transition with the storm. That's a good use of world building. Yeah, in all honesty, Eli, overall the section's actually in a really good place. I don't really have any other feedback for you because the character development, the plotting, the world building and the rest of it, like I'm pretty good with. So I was like, I think once you prune down that the story itself, I think this part of the chapter will be really, really strong, in all honesty. So really good work. I'm glad that we got to get to the end of it. I can't believe that you said that was based on a real story, right? The mountain lion story was based on a real one. That's crazy. That's so crazy. I can't believe that you said that this had happened to you. Yeah, and you said that their relationship was your main concern. Their relationship definitely came through. This chapter kind of feels, although realistically, the end of this chapter feels like it's the end of their relationship. And honestly, that's what it feels like. Is it feels like it's a recognition that that the relationship that they thought they had and that they've had ever since that moment is now starting to dwindle because they're moving with opposite beliefs and values, which is actually really powerful. So yeah, that definitely came through. I think you did that very, very well, and especially the way you tied it off at the end of the chapter. Yeah, and I mean, yeah, I think what you can do is I would say then cut down on a lot of the dialogue if you want to keep their a lot of like their the nonverbal stuff. Um, Condense the dialogue. That's what I would say then. Yeah, exactly. And I mean, they probably talked about this story before, so I mean, I think that's something to think about as well. That's kind of interesting. Wow, that's so crazy. That's a true story, my friend. That's so crazy. Well, thanks so much for sharing, Eli. I'm super excited to continue reading the story. Granted, I might be a little biased, but I really want to see how the conflict continues to evolve. I'm super intrigued. I think when I think about the characters, um, I think the main character is still my favorite. I think Zekung. I think Zekung is probably still my favorite of all the characters, but probably because he's like the science fictiony vibe. I really want to see. I want to see him and Maxine interact more. I want to see what their interactions look like. So, but yeah, thanks so much for submitting, my friend. And once again, for anybody who submitted previously, or whether you haven't submitted, or you've submitted previously, or you're new to the stream, welcome. This is the Story and Critique stream where I do bi-weekly readings for writers in the community. Whether you're new here or whether you've submitted multiple times, submit now. I love to hear revisions of previous submissions or later parts of stories that you've submitted. Or if you haven't submitted yet, now's the time. It's a great way to get alpha, beta reading feedback on your story so that way you can improve and help get it to the next level. So definitely submit now. Really, really cool. And if you've been enjoying the stream, make sure to tap that subscribe button. Help us show. I was going for like a like. I don't know why I hopped into like. I'm like on autopilot for a second. I was like subscribe. That's about all I got for that. Oh man, I'm cracking myself up. Okay. So Let's see. So let's do another one. I was pretty happy with that. Hope that helped out a little bit, Eli. All right, and I think it looks like we have another fantasy one queued up. So we're going to, without further ado, let's get into a fantasy romance. So Winter Solstice by Engie. I got you on deck. Let me get it set up here. All right. Woo, we got another dragon one. Super excited for that. So we're going to hop into it. Engie, I'm going to do yours now, whether you're here on the live or watching on the replay. We got you covered. So let's hop into it and let's see how we can help out Engie. And let's see what we can do to help you out. Awesome. So I am all ready. Okay. So we got Winter Solstice, a fantasy romance by Engie. And this is the first draft of a novella. So this is a novella, which means novellas tend to be in about that 20 to 40,000 words. And they generally tend to be about 40,000 words. It was like 40,000, sometimes 40 to 60,000. But this is a novella, and this is a first draft. And it looks like they're looking for any feedback. So let's see what we see. Dragons don't take promises lightly. When you can live as long as a dragon, or even just a few fractions as long, your word is charged with honor, wisdom before the modern age, and a personal pride to uphold it. Yigni was a dragonborn, birthed into an unassuming family, with an unassuming and common magic manifestation among dragons and their kin. 3 years ago, he had promised to kill someone before they were of age to marry their arranged husband. That date will be in 4 weeks. Travel had made him tired, but Yigni simply couldn't sleep, no matter how hard he tried or what he did to calm himself down. The tea was ineffective, but the corridors were silent. He looked into himself for a semblance of guilt over what he had done. Maybe whatever atrocity he had committed was plaguing his soul in a way that prevented sleep. No, that wasn't it. He wasn't stupid to believe to believe that was it. The water, cold on his hands, was his grounding sensation. He blinked and shook his head, focusing on the room again, and letting the marble bathroom of the Institute rush back into view. The moonlight permeated the windows, illuminating his eyes in a way that gave them their own glow. Cold water. He sunk his palms into the shallow water on the bowl, taking deep breaths, counting up and down. The silence sickening. He pulled his hands back, letting the water continue down the drain and lifting his talons to his face, drops running down his forearms. The mirror reflecting back the scales of his chest and a line of ashy black that now marked the spot of a knife long gone. He let the water keep running, taking his shirt from the marble counter the sink rested, and gently soaking it under the faucet. He squeezed the cloth, pulled it, like some more blood would pour out of the fabric. It didn't, and that was somehow worse. He let the shirt go and flicked his hands around like he touched filth. The gaze fell back in the mirror. The eyes, ever bright blue, were still his. The intense color, the gaze sharp enough to cut skin despite days without rest, and the inhuman fire behind them. Like staring into a furnace's fire behind glass, a barely contained flame that could emanate the warmth of a being without being alive. A noise, so subtle and distant most people this tired would dismiss it. Yigny turned off the water while moving his gaze to the open bathroom door, leaving his white shirt in the sink while the water tried to flow past it. The movements of the scaled humanoid were precise, but not devoid of grace. The huge frame of the Dragonborn can make the best defined athletes look like amateurs in their sports. The walk was made with long strides, shoulders moving with such expressivity it felt rehearsed. And of course, it was. An intersection was in front of him after just a few seconds. The hallways opened into four, one being the one from which he came. His heels barely touched the wooden floor. A gust of air invaded the environment. Two people shouted from both sides of his head. Bisect! He let his foot lay flat on the wood while he heard the walls and floor turn to shrapnel. Bending his knees and forcing himself back while a horizontal and vertical slash, only visible by the faint white glow of the outlines, collided at his location. The previously uniform magic exploded into shards, amplifying the damage as the fragments damaged the structure around the collision before dissipating. Yigny landed a couple feet back, sliding on the smooth wooden floor. Elves? He thought, curiosity drowning the minimal concern. Two figures ran from both sides of the corridor, turning their trajectory to him in a maneuver that made the soles of their shoes screech against the floor. Oh, elves. Yigny noted. The two attackers stopped with another sharp screech and extended their hands out. Bisect! They yelled again, a brief flash of faint light as the slashes projected again, forming into a cross that traveled slightly off-center from the hall, digging shallow trenches on the ceiling and wall. Distance casters. The Dragonborn clenched their fist, charging ahead and dodging both slashes by going through a corner. The knuckle was ready to meet flesh when a secondary pulse was felt as a pressure difference in the room. Yigny heard the destruction make its way in reverse. The casters had called the spell back to him. He shifted his stance. The blow to the stomach of the leftmost one was adjusted to an uppercut, head snapping back, and the horizontal slash dissipated, just as he felt the magic begin to press against his scales. The vertical slash continued. The Dragonborn turned to the remaining caster as said caster looked at him. The cutting spell acted as a temporary barrier that missed its timing, allowing for a clear shot to the chest. The first met the ribcage, and the elf, who now could be identified as a male, was forced with their back against the wall while the air left their lungs. Elves, Yigny said, repeating his thought as if pretending it just occurred to him. Dragonborn, the elf spat back, a youngling by their standards, but even the ones that looked like kids could be in their 20s. If you're here, I must be close, he concluded, saying it out loud as a habit he picked up. Bisect! The other casters shouted, louder and more vigorous than before. Yigny's eyes flared with brief surprise. He used his fist to grip the other elf's shirt and threw them against the incoming slash, crossing both arms to brace himself while a subtle golden glow enveloped him. The spell hit. A streak of crimson erupted from his skin while his own body was slammed against the wall, but it didn't cut him cleanly, barely fracturing his bones. What a weird metric of durability, Yigny thought while assessing the damage via his pain. Putting a foot against the wall, he used it as leverage to charge ahead, swiping aside the split body of the enemy and forming his hand into a spear shape, letting his talons meet the other elf's throat head-on. The red blood, slightly metallic, sprayed on his forearms and face. Silence returned. The destruction remained, but now the only noise was that of the ceiling falling to the ground. Blood poured from his own wounds. A bit of the spell slipped past his guard and dug a bit into his abdomen. Quaint. Yigny pulled his arm back with a wet sound. The body dropped to the floor. Elves, he said. The word carried no particular emotion, just acknowledgement of his competition. Elves, this far away from their homeland. He looked around, simply observing the destruction he wouldn't be able to repair in time. Then at the bodies, who surely would have someone looking for them. The features of the boys were stained by their own blood, one with a gash in their neck, one slit in half. The pale skin and white hair only made the blood stand out, more in a way that Yigny would think of as morbid, but inviting to the eyes. The aesthetics of blood. There wasn't a lot of time to analyze the situation. He did what he had to do. There was no point in going back for his shirt. He left the way he came, the open doors of the Institute, two massive wooden tablets that gave the hall an air of ultimate authority and knowledge, a barrier thick enough to communicate the safety of the students. The lock was broken. The huge beam that kept the door shut from within was ruptured in half. A guard, or its remains, were slanted against a stone column outside, skin blackened, the smell of smoke and cooked meat coming from the corpse. A sting forced the dragonborn to briefly acknowledge his wounds. The cuts began to glow like hot metal, the flesh carbonizing and sealing shut from within. Yigni felt the calmness return. He knew in the next city he stopped, he would have a good night of sleep. While his feet walked down on a path of stone bricks and the statues around pointed upwards, he looked to the sky, seeing the white dots of light being permeated by a minuscule but present red star. Carmine, he said. The name tasted of iron while he licked his lips. Throughout heaven and earth, I promised you. He looked straight again. I will kill you. End reading. Wow, what a cool opening for a fantasy story. Like, oh my goodness, we get dragon character being attacked by elves. I was all for that. What a cool story. And the style for it, I felt like you did a really good job with your descriptions. I felt like I was very much pulled into who our main MC was, the action that was going on, and then the twist at the end of the section was very well done. Cool. So we get to him almost being killed, and then we go to him. All right, he's clearly he wants to kill somebody for some type of slight or something that happened to him. I was definitely all for that. I thought that was a great setup to a fantasy story. The character development was very well done. I would say character development was absolutely awesome. The plotting was great. I was all for that plot. Dialogue. There really isn't too much dialogue. It's very short and in between, and I think that does work well for it. I don't quite have a sense of the world building. I'm not sure what world I'm in yet. Not necessarily a good or a bad thing. I would say that might be the opportunity. But we're so pulled into like the moments of this. So I would say maybe world building, but I mean, it's like I feel like the piece is almost ready for editing, but I think if you could add a little couple hints of like how does this world differ from other worlds with dragons and elves, I think that would definitely be beneficial. So I was definitely all for that. I mean, you guys know me. If you're ever struggling, put a dragon on it. So I think we're all agreed on that count. Oh, I love that. This was a great opening, by the way. Dragons don't take promises lightly. When you can live as long as a dragon, or even just a few fractions as long, your word is charged with honor, wisdom before the modern age, and a personal pride to uphold it. I would almost take out this bit when you can live, I would say when you live as long as a dragon, your word is charged with honor, wisdom before the modern age, and a personal pride. I think if I was to make this more impactful, I would say when you live a dragon's life, when you live as long as a dragon, when you live a dragon's age, your word is charged with honor, wisdom, and pride. I think I would make that a little more impactful. But I love the opening sentiment to this. And you're setting up a motivation here. And it feels like this is his motivation right now. You could clarify this just a little bit, but I kind of go back and forth on that. I would say maybe add a little bit of clarity to this, so this is just clearer what this means. He had promised to kill someone before they were of age to marry their arranged husband. He had promised to kill someone before betrothal. I think something to that extent. And I love this. So this is really great character development. The tea was ineffective, but the corridors were silent. He looked into himself for a semblance of guilt over what he had done. Maybe whatever atrocity he had committed was plaguing his soul in a way that prevented sleep. No, that wasn't it. He wasn't stupid to believe that was it. So this is good because this is like a surface level of him initially saying, okay, maybe this is why, but no, deep down he knows. So this is nice because you're taking us to a deeper character level very early on, which is a very great strategy. And you're not even letting us see that secondary character level, but you're leading the reader to like know there's something deeper. Very, very great work. So I love your character descriptions for him. I feel like we get the eyes. I'm very clear on his eyes. He has some type of like chest wound. Um, and I mean, you basically noted him as a dragon. I was like, I don't think dragons don't take. Was a drag? Yigni was a dragonborn. Yeah, so he looks like a dragon. Yep. So he's basically full on dragon, commanding blue eyes, chest, and I think you said that he has like an ashen, like kind of an ashen. His scales are like an ashen color, I believe. But I love this. This gives us a vibe for how he looks. I think if you could, I might add a line somewhere that specifically describes his scales, but I could have missed it. I love this. This moment with the assassins is really good. Even though we don't know what Bisect is doing, um, it's very clear that we have two people are probably trying to kill him. On this action here, I would just clean up this initial action. He let his foot lay flat on the wood while he heard the walls and floor turn to shrapnel. Okay, wait. And it was an intersection was in front of him just after a few seconds. The hallways opened into four. So this is a four-way intersection, one being the one from which he came. His heels barely touched the wooden floor. A gust of air invaded the environment. So I'm assuming, so he's walking down an intersection. Two elves from either side come in, and then they try to shoot at him. He let his foot lay on the floor, on the wood, while he heard the walls and floor turn to shrapnel. He heard the walls and floor turn to shrapnel, bending his knees and forcing himself back. So he's basically doing like a Neo. He's basically doing like Neo as it like goes over him. I believe. Yeah, so I would just clarify his action just a little bit. I'm pretty sure he's bending his knees and leaning back. So that way it just goes, so that way the magic bisect goes over him and then damages the walls. I believe, but I'm not 100% clear. And I would make that action its own paragraph. But I'm pretty sure that's it. Only because this is like the beginning of the action, so you want the beginning to be really, really clear. And then he said he landed a couple feet back. So did he slide? So he slid back? I think he slid back. Yep. And this is good. So then the fight itself is fine. I'm good with the fight. The fight itself was really good. Just the magic began to press against the scales. When you say vertical or a horizontal slash, the first time I might clarify what does vertical or horizontal slash look like? Is that a beam of light that's arced? Is that like an arced beam of light that then cuts through everything and disintegrates it? Is that a thing of like shadows. Like I want to have a better idea of what is the physical thing that I see when somebody does a horizontal slash. I'm assuming it's like a horizontal beam of light or a horizontal like light boomerang type of thing. Not boomerang, just a horizontal arc of light. That's what I'm assuming. So I would just clarify that because I know it hits him the first time. So maybe when he dodges that first one, you give us a clear description on what does the magic specifically look like, because that way it will help the reader to understand what the magic looks like. Because you tell us what the spell does, the cutting spell acted as a time. So you tell us what the things do, which is good. So just a further level of a description for those. And then the way that he responds to the fight is all good. Like I liked the fight itself, and then how he kind of took them both down. This is good, right? So elves is far away from their homeland. The all good foreshadowing, good stuff here. This is some really interesting character development. I was very intrigued. The features of the boys were stained by their own blood, one with a gash in their neck, one slit in half. The pale skin and white hair only made the blood stand out, more in a way, and I would make this its own sentence, more in a way that Yigni could think of as morbid but inviting to the eyes. The aesthetics of blood. There's something um, that's interesting. And this is really setting up that he has a higher resilience, especially from this attack. Maybe because it's a dragon, maybe because it's a warrior. Still hard to tell. I'm assuming that maybe Carmen, the one he wants to kill, is the one that you foreshadowed and set up in the beginning. I'm assuming that. I don't think you actually need to do add anything else for that bit. I think you've touched it upon fine. But as a reader, I'm guessing that this is the person that I sent going to kill is Carmen. That's my assumption right now. Um, yeah. And then, like I said, I'm assuming this is the first chapter. Once again, not quite clear. This could be early on in the book, obviously. But I think we do need a little bit of world building to understand what type of world we are in. You do a great job with the dragons. You do a great job of setting up the race and giving us a little bit of culture and Yigni's character development. But what I don't understand is what type of world I am in yet. And we need some type of reference to what type of world we're in early on. Maybe when he's still looking in the mirror, getting himself ready. Even if it's brief, we don't need something super long. You can go more in depth once we've connected more with the characters. But we do need to know something. How does this world of dragons and elves so far differ from any other world with dragons and elves? So, but it's cool. I'm definitely intrigued. You've definitely got me hooked, though, for sure. So, yeah, really great work. Angie, thanks so much for submitting. I was very intrigued by that piece. You know me well, right? If you ever need to do something fun, put a dragon on it. Awesome. Thanks so much for submitting that, my friend. Really appreciate you. And always feel free to submit later sections of the story or revisions in another critique show. No, so that's a good call out. So in your, they were just suggesting your opinion to add some more feelings and interiority into the beginning to better hook the reader. That could be another strategy if you're really trying to pull readers in to the character development. I feel like I was probably hooked into the character more because it was a dragon than anything else. I thought it was a cool looking dragon, and then I thought he was a badass. But dragons, it's an easier win for me as a fantasy reader because y'all know I like dragons. So, uh, Yeah, that's actually interesting. I was almost getting like Mega Man with dragons. I kind of like that concept actually. Mega Man with dragons. Angie, if that's what you're going for, yes, Mega Man with dragons. Mega Dragon Man. I absolutely love that. Now I want to play Mega Man. Oh man, I haven't played the Mega Man games in such a long time. Awesome. So really, really great work. So glad, so glad to be able to have you guys submitting. And I know we still have a number more queued up on deck, but that's all that I got time for today. So I'm going to wrap up the critique stream. Before we go, though, I want to make sure to call out in the Discord, in the WriteNow Discord, we have started a weekly writing challenge. For those who win the weekly writing challenge, you will be entered into the Hall of Epic Writers. This week's challenge is a dialogue challenge. What is some interesting dialogue that your characters have said that's clever, fun, or crazy? You can post a single one or an excerpt. This week, we have a number of our writers have posted huge excerpts. Go and compete because it ends tomorrow for this week's challenge. I want to see your dialogue because we know dialogue can be crazy sometimes. So go over to the weekly writing challenge in the WriteNow Discord, linked down in the YouTube description down below. And that's what we got for you. I'll be back with the critique stream in 2 weeks. So critique stream will be back on Saturday, February 7th for the next story and critique stream. And then tomorrow, I'll be back with our weekly community updates. So if you want to know what's going on with the community, make sure to come back and hang out. 2 Pacific, 5 p.m. Eastern, same time, same place every Monday. I'll be joined with another author tuber in the community who does some absolutely incredible things. We're going to be talking about a seasonal event that they're hosting, which happens every single season. So we're going to be talking about that much and more. I have to think of if I have any major updates. So come back and join us tomorrow. And that is what I got for you, my writers. If you enjoyed the stream, tap that like button. Help us show the algorithm that writing streams are cool. All right, my friends. Unfortunately, that brings us to the end of the stream. Don't forget, words are wind, but stories are forever. I'm Kauffman, and I'll catch you on the morrow. Stay creative, writers. Stories are forever. I'm Kauffman, and I'll catch you on the morrow. Stay creative, writers. It's time to write
now. Sorry.
Right now, not right now, but right now. Read now, right now.